Let's get the insights of ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office Chief Economist, Khor, joining us now from Singapore. Howie, thank you so much for joining us. Are you excited with these full year numbers of the Philippine economy of 7.6%?
Yes, very much. But first of all, let me thank you for having me on the set, Rico. Glad to be back on the set again with you. No, I think the economy has outperformed our expectation. We had expected a 7.3% growth. And that's because there was a lot of headwinds, as we know, at the beginning of the year. And we expect the economy to be weaker than, to recover very strongly, but not to be as strong as the outturn. But then when we saw the third quarter number, we marked up our growth to 7.3 from 6.8% that we had back in October. But even that was exceeded by the actual outcome, which is 7.6, which is even stronger.
Yeah.
So I think the economy has done extremely well.
It did extremely well for the full year, but Howie, we saw a dip in the numbers in the October to December quarter at 7.2%. Could this be a sign that the economy could be slipping slightly and we could see growth in the first quarter of 2023 fall below 7%?
For the whole of this year, we're expecting growth to moderate to 6.2%. Know that the 7.6% is not sustainable over the long term. The potential growth is to 6.5%. We expect the growth to potential growth. But, that's because this year, there's a lot of headwinds, as we know. The global economy is slowing down. Interest rates are very high. And we expect the US and Europe to go into a recession. So on the demand side, we expect strong headwinds.
Yes.
But on the other hand, the Philippine economy is a service economy, and it's likely to be less impacted by the slowdown than some of the other economies in the region.
Yes.
So 6.2% is, I think, quite a strong growth, a slight moderation from the potential growth. But the indications are that maybe the US will not go into a recession after all, and Europe is holding up quite well because of the warm winter.
Yes.
So it may be that the Philippine economy was surprised on the upside again.
And this economy is basically driven by domestic consumption with tens of billions of dollars of remittances from overseas Filipino workers. But when you look underneath, there's also still a lot of weakness in the Philippine economy because we have one of the lowest foreign direct investment numbers in Asia, plus the fact we have a very weak manufacturing sector. We don't manufacture a lot of our goods. We import a lot of them rather than export, Howie.
Yes, that's the structure of the economy, which is quite different from the other ASEAN countries, as we know. It's a much more service-driven economy, but the service sector has done extremely well, and has driven the economy. And I think going forward, you can continue to leverage on the service economy by growing the call center and moving into the knowledge office processing type of, so moving up the value chain in the digital economy. But the manufacturing sector has done well, as I mentioned, and I think it's an area where there's a lot of potential to grow. This is because of the basically structuring of the supply chain, global
Howie?
Supply chain now to attract relocation of investment to Philippines.
Howie, of course, the Philippines wants to invite billions of dollars of new investments, and we've seen during the president's 8 overseas trips in less than 7 months of his presidency, we've seen close to $50 billion in pledges. No? And the broadcast media, including myself, had a chat with the president on Monday at the palace, and he said transparency and accountability are not important issues for investors, but they bring up problems like the ease of doing business, the cost of energy, and legislative guarantees. Do you agree that it's not important for investors who look at good governance, accountability, transparency when making investments in the country?
I think it's important to investors, but there are also other factors that are equally important. And so I think security, for instance, is a very important issue for them. Logistics, good infrastructure, all these are important factors. We have done a study of the factors attracting foreign investment, and I think ASEAN generally has done very well. But of course, there are areas where you can improve upon, and we have seen that, for instance, in the neighboring countries. Most of the countries now are trying to digitalize the economy because that's one of the big attractions for attracting foreign investment. They're also improving the investment environment, trying to make reducing the tax rate and providing more incentive for foreign investors.
All right, so economic reforms that have been instituted in the past administrations basically evens out the transparency, the accountability, and the good governance. Thank you so much for joining us on The Final Word. AMRO Chief Economist Khor joining us from Singapore.